This is Prof. Rudder. This is a demo on how to use some of the drawing facilities available with the .NET framework in a Visual Studio environment using C#. I'm using, as you can see, Ultimate Edition 2012. The intent is for people who have experience with some of these things but have maybe not used Visual Studio or C# or the .NET framework. And so this is going to be kind of a quickie. But it will show you how to deal with some of the event handling and the like. So, as you can see, we have a start page here with Visual Studio. You can explore that, but I'm going to close that. And I'm going to create a new Windows Forms application. And I'm going to call it Drawing. And I'm going to put it in a folder here. And this app now is going to be created in this location. Its name will be Drawing, and it's going to create a directory for the solution. As you can see here, I've selected also to use a Windows app, Forms app in C#. That's important for this as well. You could also do Visual Basic or other languages that you may have installed. So this will take a second or two to create the app. The app is now created, and I'm going to click on Start, and you can see now that the app right here is a blank app. Doesn't do much of anything, but at least it's created, and there's quite a bit of work done to just make that one thing happen. For purposes of this demo, I'm going to make that thing pop up in the middle of the screen, and I can do that by selecting Start Position right here and saying I want to do, instead of Windows Default, Center Screen. That way I won't forget to drag it over into this window, and it'll show up right there every time. So first thing I want to do is to find a place to draw on. We could in fact draw just on the client area, the white area that you see of this form, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to grab a control over here on this side under All Windows Forms, and it's called a panel. I'm going to grab that thing, put it over here, and I'm going to draw just within that panel. Now the purpose for this video is to explain to somebody who asked me for it, to show how you can deal with the mouse coordinates and all of that. So one of the things I'm going to do is to display the mouse coordinates, and as a result I'm going to also grab a status strip, and I'm going to drop it over here. This time you'll notice that it appears down here, and in fact it's on the panel, which is not what I intended, but I'll just leave it there, and we'll deal with that here in a little bit. So if I run this thing, you see I've got this status strip down here, but it really isn't very appealing because of the coloring, so I'm going to go fix that up and return in a second. So now you can see that I've made a few changes. The one change I made was to put a border around this panel just so you could see it better. The second change I made was to move the status bar from off of the end of this panel, but rather put it at the bottom of the form. What I did before was I dropped it within the panel. This time I dropped it down here in this region in the form, and that thing will stay at the bottom as we size the form. So if I were to do something like this, if I can grab it there, you'll see that it stays down there, and I'll be able to manipulate this. So what I want to do is actually put something on here, for example a status label, and I can give this status label a name that says, for example, mouse position indicator. Let me copy that, and I'll come down here in the text, and you'll notice that this text will change when I change that. So now it reminds me that that's the mouse position indicator, and I probably would be better off if I just left it blank, because until I use it, it's not going to have anything in it that way. So now when I run this, you'll see that you can't see it in here, but in a moment you're going to see it, because we're going to put the mouse position in there whenever it's within the confines of this panel. And I'm going to size this. I just clicked on the panel, and I'm going to size this a little bit. There's another thing you can do here, which is called anchoring, and I can anchor this to the top left and bottom of the panel or of the form, so that now as I reposition or resize the form, that thing will get resized with it, and that can be kind of handy sometimes. So when you look again at this running, you'll see that when I resize the form, I get a bigger panel. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to actually put that information about the mouse position down here in that mouse position indicator. And to do that, what we're going to do is handle the mouse move event that occurs when the mouse cursor moves across this panel. And it'll quit happening when it's down, when it comes out here. So I really would like to change the name of the panel to say panel drawing or something like that, just because it's easier to know it's easier to remember what it does when you give it a name that's meaningful. And in fact, I'm going to put M underscore in front of that to mean member, and that, or my, take your pick. And that means that when I get IntelliSense in my code, I will always get all of my M underscore things together. So what I want to do is to click on this lightning bolt, which is the collection of events that are defined for this, and you'll see that I've got a mouse move event that occurs on that panel. What I want to do is I want to come right in here and I want to double click on this, and it creates a method. And here's another good reason to name that thing, because it's named here to tell me what thing it's dealing with. Otherwise it would have just said panel 1 underscore mouse move. But what I want to do is to put some information in that box that is on the status strip. In this code, what I want to do is I want to take that information, or to get that control that's on the status bar, and put the mouse's position in there. There's a place where you can go look for this stuff, and that's in the designers.cs file. And in here, I created this this mouse indicator strip. So its name is mouse position indicator. It's a new tool strip status label. So that's the thing that I'm after. I probably should have named it M underscore something. But I'm going to copy that, come in here, and I'm going to say that thing dot text is equal to, and what I want it to have in it is the position of the mouse. Well, the position of the mouse on a mouse move is passed into it in this mouse event args object called E. So I can say E dot X dot toString, and then I can add to that a comma, and I can say plus E dot X dot toString, and I should be able to run this now. And as I move the mouse through here, notice that it gives me, and I typed it wrong. I said E dot X and E dot X. I really meant E dot Y right here. And in fact, if you look at this, you've got a number of things that you can use. E dot Y is the other one. We could also have simply said location dot toString, but I chose to do it this way because you can see more about X and Y just as a tutorial kind of a thing. So now when I run this and I move the mouse in here, you'll see that it changes that. But you'll also notice that even after I'm outside, it says something in here, although that has no meaning about where the mouse is. It's only meaningful when the mouse is inside here, because that's the place that I'm handling these events. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the code. If we go back to the form design and look at panel and look at these other the other events that we can trap, I can do a mouse enter event, and I can do a mouse leave event. And so when the mouse enters, then I'm going to say, well, I really don't need to do the mouse enter. I'm not going to do anything. But when the mouse leaves, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say mouse position indicator.text is equal to blank, or just an empty string. And so now when I run this thing and I come in, it will have these values, but when I leave, it'll be blank. So it's only meaningful when I come in and the mouse moves within the panel. All right. So the next thing I want to do is to draw in here. And to draw, what we're going to do is say we want to click the mouse down. The left mouse button needs to go down, and that will put it in drawing mode. And then while we move with the left mouse button down, it will draw. And then what we want to do is to stop drawing when we lift up the mouse button, but then redraw some more when we push the mouse button down again. So if you want to watch that, I've got another one that works here, and it looks kind of like this. And so this is what I want to do. And now I've lifted the mouse button up, and I want to do this: mouse button down and up, mouse button down, mouse button up. And you can see that there's some flakiness to it, but that's just because this is just a quick piece of code thrown together. So that's the next goal, is to do that kind of thing. So what we want to do is we want to handle some other events. In particular, we want to handle the mouse down event when a button is clicked down. We want to also handle the mouse up event. Whoops, I got the wrong one. That's the move event, which is different than the mouse move event, by the way. The mouse up event. So now I've got the mouse up event, the mouse move event, the mouse down event. I'm going to ignore this one, but deleting it, I might show you how to delete that in a minute, because it's kind of a pain if you're not careful. So what I want to do when the mouse goes down is to put this whole application in drawing mode. So I'm going to come over here on the form, and I'm going to create a variable called drawing. And I probably should set that to false to start, because I'm not in drawing mode till I push a button down. So I'll set it to false. Oops, equal false. Then I'm going to create a point object. Point is, it's taken a second to get that. So I'm going to create this point object called last position. And I'm going to set that last position to the last place that we moved, or the last place that we pushed the mouse button down. And that's where we're going to draw from. And we're going to draw to the position that the mouse is in when the mouse move, when the mouse move event occurs. So we've already done this part, and then we're going to check in here. Well, let me come down here to the mouse down, and we're simply going to say drawing equals true, and we're going to say last position is equal to new point of e.x, e.y. That's where the mouse cursor was when the mouse button was pushed down. So the next thing I want to do is to establish what happens when the mouse moves, and nothing happens if we're not drawing. But if we are drawing, we're going to do this. We're going to have this little if statement that says if we're drawing, then I want to draw a line from the last position to e.location. Use the location this time, just for the fun of it. And then when I'm done doing that drawing, I'm going to say last position is equal to e.location, so that I've moved my last position to the end of the current move position. But you'll notice it's unhappy with this, and that's because there isn't a draw line method. So we're going to create one. That little blue line there, if you can see it right there, pops up this little help window. It says, what do you want to do? I'm going to create a stub in this form. And so now I've got this draw line method, and what I want to do is to draw a line, in the drawing panel. Well, we got to create a graphics object for that. Graphics G is equal to drawing panel, m_drawing panel, or panel drawing dot. It's got a create graphics method, and this creates a graphics object that knows how to draw on that panel. And what I'm going to do is use it to draw a line. Well, to draw a line from, or in black. There are a bunch of colors associated with pens, from the last position to the point. And that's last with a T. Last position to point. And that ought to do it for me. Now, when I'm done, I'm going to lift up the mouse button, mouse up, and I want to then say I'm no longer drawing. And you might want actually to do something regarding cleaning up something from being in the drawing mode, but that's the place you would do it. All right, so you see I've got mouse enter that's not of any value, and this is probably the wrong way to do it, but this is the way I do it. So I'm going to get rid of it. And then I've got panel drawing move, and I'm going to delete that. And now you see that I've got 2 errors down here in the error list. And so what I want to do is go there, and this is where it created these 2 event handlers, and I want to get rid of them. So there's one of them. I'm just going to delete that. Here's the other one right here, and I'm going to delete that. Notice that that's in form1.designer.cs. You really ought not go in here and mess with this file, but I do it for that one purpose. That's about the only purpose I use it for. So now when I run this thing, as I go through here, I can draw in it. Lift up the button, and I can continue drawing somewhere else. Lift up the button, and I continue drawing somewhere else. And it's got these issues like I pointed out before, but those are things to be taken care of in other ways. So that's what this does. Notice that as we go, even when we're drawing, it tells us what the position is. So with that, I think I'll quit. That gives you the basics for how to do drawing in Visual Studio using C# and the .NET framework. Hope that helps. Bye.